We are back and I'm sitting with fabulous designers, and you may have seen them on the runway, but I can't wait to introduce you to them. And we're going to start with Sandy. Sandy, please tell us, who are you, what do you do, and what's your role in the fashion industry?
I'm Sandy Rogers, and I have quite a unique position in that I started my own business in 2017 as a design studio, Coupe Studio. And through COVID, I have now got a manufacturing arm. I'm a partner in the factory, and together Coupe Studio and the factory, we in Victoria Yards, and we do the whole end-to-end solution, as in design, product development, and through to manufacture into retail. We supply Cross Trainer, we supply Truworths, Fashini Group. So we're doing, we've been able to build that up over the last couple of years, which has been amazing in spite of everything. And then at the same time, I have a store, Coupe Studio, in Mall of Africa, and I work with a whole lot of young designers, and we have an outlet for the designers in the store.
Great. And then we have Tulani.
Hello. My name is Tulani Mlambo. I run a label, local label called Saint Vuyo. It was established literally in the beginning of COVID.
Wow.
Last year was a big year for the brand. I was chosen as a finalist for New Talent Search with SA Fashion Week. And then following that, I was chosen again as a finalist for SA Fashion Week's Scouting Menswear competition. And then later in December, I made it to Mozambique Fashion Week. So we're still up and coming brand, still building a lot, but still learning along the journey.
Amazing.
But yeah, that is, so far, I focus more on slow fashion, gender neutral articulations in clothing, trying to sort of break down those barriers of what hegemonic gender codes, I would say, in retail spaces. So that's currently my aim.
Great. So. I'm excited to tap into that more. Nzika, welcome. Tell us about you and what you do and your role in the fashion industry.
So I'm Nzika Jaja. I am digital marketing manager for a global luxury brand in the country called Makosa Africa. So we make ready-to-wear, we venture into atelier, we've also branched into home as well as other deco. So we have been in our first decade this year, and I think one of the big things we've learned with the year is the idea of, I think Tulani specified slow fashion. So we're branching that into more also sustainability, because we're a very sustainable brand.
Great. Gugu, welcome. Let us know what you do.
I actually have a brand called Gugulam. It was established many, many years ago in '06, and it's a luxury brand. I have done, I've supplied stores, I've had many a fashion show, and then I took off for 2 years. So I just was out of the industry because I had personal things that I was working on. And I'm back again now, and part of what we do is we also teach young people about how to become a stylist, or what you call, image consulting, because a lot of people want to get into the industry, and sometimes they don't know what's out there. And I think my experience, I started out in television and music videos and ads and all that stuff. So I get to tell young people what's out there and the opportunities they have to do what's in the industry. So I still enjoy part of those perks that I tapped into growing up.
That's incredible. So incredible. And you all have strong brands. I mean, if you don't know any of your brands, I don't know which rock you're living under. And I really want to speak to you about your achievements, because you started your business in the beginning of COVID. What made you start a business during COVID? I mean, everyone was scared. I think everyone would think, are you crazy starting a business in COVID? Because you're not certain about what's happening in the future. But you achieved so much in a short period of time. Tell us how did you start it, and what was your strategy to get to where you are right now?
Well, there wasn't really a strategy. I would say during 2020, there was a lot. COVID hit. I was basically assisting my mentor now, Roman Hunt, and he couldn't obviously keep me on his team because of COVID, downsizing and everything. So I just found myself without a job, and I was slightly hesitant and very petrified of going back into retail. So it was like, let's try and start, something for myself. And throughout the year, I sort of created pieces for myself. And in that, creating a collection, I was able to just document everything and enter, basically, SA Fashion Week's competitions. And it's been
well done.
Growing up since
That's
then.
amazing. Well done. I love the fact that you put yourself out there and went for it, without a doubt. Sandy, I just want to know, what are the challenges you faced from a retail point of view as a designer and working in the factory industry? What are the challenges you face in the industry?
So with the store and working with the young designers, we had been working through, we had this whole program with EdCon to support the young designers as they, with the Design Innovation Challenge. So basically I'd set up at Victoria Yards to support these amazing young designers that were just about to be able to, with the support of EdCon, be able to grow their businesses and their brands. And we had the factory right there all ready to support them. And then COVID happened and we went into lockdown. So with the young designers, it's been really tough for them to keep stocks, to be able to fill a store, to be able to turn what they make back into more stock. And so that has been a real challenge. Our store has carried on growing really nicely, so that's been amazing to be able to support the designers. But I feel like I really would love to be able to spend more time building the brands with the designers, being able to help them, because there's so much talent. There's to be able to do all of that and have your talent be able to grow a brand is really what some of the issues we're having. In order to stock the store, I actually started my own brand called Pret Perfect, and that's been fun, and I've enjoyed doing that. So just to be able to take a small brand and be able to build it, that's been a challenge, you know. But I think we've survived over the time now. Now we really need to build on our successes in that way.
Yeah.
So, and I've been amazed. I mean, I think what you've done is incredible. And I'd really be interested, any points you've got. I work with designers who want to, luxury.
Yeah.
That is like, everyone wants to build a luxury brand, but to be able to build a luxury brand like you have done, are there any things that when you started out, that you were adamant about doing to make sure that it was a luxury brand?
Yes.
Because to be perceived as a luxury brand it's an achievement, but lots of people want to have a luxury brand, but then they fall down with quality or sticking to your strategy and making sure that you build your brand. Is there anything that
I like that.
I think that's a very good question in terms of, I think the one thing that we also have to find within the South African or even African context is what luxury is. So we define ourselves as an African luxury brand, because you find that with luxury in a global sense, you spoke about it, where there's the value chain, there's the ownership of the value chain. We're fortunate enough that we do own our own value chain. However, with luxury is the bigger risk of stock items, raw material. So I would say for designers, young designers aspiring to be a luxury brand, it's the research, it's the deep research of understanding the country we live in, moreover, so our pivot was more sustainable luxury. So we call ourselves a culture-based luxury brand because that our anchor is culture. It's just that our bottom line and our output is luxury. And the reason that makes us luxury is all these tier points that we are a sustainable brand. We use 100% raw material. We also don't shortcut the process of luxury. So this from start to finish, we created here. You know, outside of maybe silk that would be imported, everything is within. Because another big thing about luxury is contributing to the GDP.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I would say research the business of fashion, more over the creativity. So I think where we've gotten it right is understanding the business of fashion.
Beautiful.
And building from that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, because the talent is there, but once you anchor on the business, you can pivot towards the talent.
I love that. And as Makosa, you guys have achieved a lot, right? And usually luxury is associated with global, right? So when did you guys know that, okay, now we are global? Because, I mean, you guys have showcased in many, many fashion shows globally, you know? So when did you know that, okay, now we are global and we are luxury?
It's a very difficult question as to answering the when. I'd say internally how we knew and how the world knew is two different times. Because as we said, for us, it becomes a branding exercise. You have to position yourself as luxury for people to perceive you as that. So when we knew we were operating on a global stage, is not when the world starts seeing the items globally. It's when we realized that the benchmark that we placed ourselves on were in par with global brands. So you find that today within South Africa, which is I think internally our biggest achievement, is that in the minds of consumers, they pair us with global, because we are also global, but they pair us with other luxury brands on purchase, not on brand value, but when they purchase and they realize the silk is the same silk, or the wool 100% wool is the same, that's when they realize, well, it's global in that sense. So I think we would say, in our 5th year as a business, we realized, okay, we are operating on a global stage, and that made us realize that with the country that we live in, we are the leaders. If we're not shying away from that, we are the leaders in the fashion industry.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
quite
phenomenal.
A fan of because, like you said, you've redefined what African fashion is. But you, Tebe Magugu, Rich Mnisi, they've all sort of been able to stamp or sort of redefine a global perspective, or let's say what is African fashion or what is African luxury, and I'm an incredible fan of.
Yeah, I must say I also like the fact that you're really accessible in terms of, you know, your brand is out there. I know that when we started out creating Gugulam and trying to get into that luxury was very different. It was a whole different ball game, and it's lovely to see how you've actually just broken into that market, because South Africa is also very niche, you know, so if you're going to break into luxury, you almost have to make it, give it a wider scope, because it's such a small market that consumes true luxury. But I love what you've done, because a lot more people have access to it.
No, certainly.
Yeah.
I also love that you started your business and then you took a break and now you're back full force.
Oh, yes.
I would love to hear your story. Like,
you know, when I shut down my business, I was supposed to be moving to the States.
wow.
And I was really excited about carrying my brand on that side. There are people who loved it and were very excited to set it up. It's unfortunate, my husband got sick. There was a whole lot of things going on. And so I found that the idea of leaving was no longer a thing. And for a minute there, I just was like, I'm too tired. I'm supposed to have gone. And here I am still in South Africa. I don't know if I want to do fashion. I was busy writing and doing other things. And then it comes back.
Yeah.
It's
your passion.
yeah,
When it's in your blood.
you know what? And then it comes
They
back.
say passion for fashion.
But you know,
Yeah.
I think also when I was leaving, one of the things, which is what you were talking about, one of the things that I realized was that I am going to have it high end when I come back, but it's not going to be so niche. I want more people to access it. So we're very excited about the new
Amazing.
things that
Yeah.
we're doing coming back into the industry.
Well, all the best.
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to seeing what you come back with. But I just wanted to ask you guys, from a digital point of view, like how has the digital world helped your business?
Well, you can tell your story in South Africa today, and it's in New York the next day. So I think the good news
Very
about
accessible.
the good news about that is that we're no longer, you know, I mean, when I was studying fashion many years ago, what we loved was you could be a designer, and what you came up with was proudly South African. But today, if you see a fashion show in New York or in London or Milan, the next day people know what's on the show. So fashion has become quite fast. You know, they call it fast fashion because it's so. But the good thing is that you can actually meet people from all over the world
Yeah, and collaborate.
and collaborate. So that's what
Yeah.
I've loved about it, and that's what I'm excited to come back into.
Good.
The digital frontier is very, it's now.
Yeah.
I think I'm very passionate about it because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But I think the greater thing, and I'll speak from the concept as a company and also with fashion as a landscape, it drew us closer to people consuming our products. Whereas you find that with fashion, there was an element of, I give you items and that's where the relationship ends. So now we speak of value chain, and what a lot of people don't get with digital is that it's able to give you the entire value chain of the retail element. You know, for instance, I'd be interested to know in terms of retail, how with the digital that allowed you to know your clients. Like for us, it doesn't matter who purchases from our store. We find that our greatest trove of treasure is the clients, moreover, because you can find that social media, you can go up and down, but bottom line can be defined by the people. You know, so for us in digital, for instance, a lot of people saw us in the New York Fashion Week, but we produced and shot the show in South Africa.
Locally.
You know, using South African talents. But if you research and Google New York Fashion Week last year and search us as a brand, you'll find the show that we did here. So that's the big thing about digital, whereas if it was a physical show,
But it
we would
was
have to take
global.
everyone there. You know, so that the element of the brand was global, but digital allowed it to be,
It was home ground.
to be current
Yeah.
as well.
It redefines the way you consume fashion and more, like you said, easily more accessible, and you're able to document everything that you do, give your clients, or let's say your audience, an experience, a different experience pre-COVID versus post.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite cool
It is.
where digital has taken you and where it can take you and the reach that you can go. And,
Well, on my side, we've only really started dabbling in that now. So I'm a big follower of everyone who is in fashion, and so now we just started doing it ourselves. And what's interesting is, so when I started Coop Studio, my sister lives in Brighton and she collects African art. And I'm here and in fashion, and we want to merge that one day together with the African art and the fashion together. So I started working with these designers, and my sister she was working with the African art in general. And this week, she launched the Coop projects in Brighton with the African art, and she's had an amazing response. And so we share those stories. I've seen her launch her store. She's seen me launch the Coop Studio here in South Africa, and then one day we hope we're gonna merge it all together and we've built up. You know, she's built up that side, and I've been able to build up the design side here.
Which is amazing.
Working with our talent, the designers here, and she works with the artist, and then one day we plan on merging that all together.
I guess the world is
Yeah.
one room.
Yeah, so
with
I was
social
in,
media.
So I was in her launch on Tuesday, and she's been, and we watched it.
That's
and
amazing.
And we see what's happening, and then we like, one day it's all gonna
That's amazing.
come together. Yeah.
Okay, I could talk to you guys the whole day because I really think that you guys are so fun and interesting. But just to wrap up the conversation, I'm just going to ask you one question, and I just need 1 or 2 sentences. So the question is, what do you think the future of fashion is? Starting with you, Sandy.
I think fashion has actually, social media has actually been a huge part of it, because people really are buying into beautiful stories and beautiful clothing. And I think fantasy and having, expressing yourself through clothing, it just is growing like, bigger and bigger. And fashion as a way of expressing yourself and telling, your own story. I think individuals really are able to make their own choices with fashion now, and they can dictate who they, they can choose how they want to express themselves. So I think fashion is looking exciting again. Yeah.
I like what Sandy said about expressing yourself through clothing, because at the end of the day, expression.
That's what you're about.
Exactly. Expression is subjective to whoever you are. You dress how you want. There's no longer a rule book or like a staple. This is how you're supposed to dress. Menswear, women's wear, merging into, one, not sticking to specific guidelines. So I think future fashion, like Sandy said, exciting. Express yourself. But being an individual in this thing called life.
Tapping onto the stories that are behind each garment. I mean, you've got the story, you've got an amazing story, and when you wearing that and you mix it with something else, you can.
Yeah, certainly. And for you, what is the future of fashion?
Well, I'd say we're seeing it now as we move into the brand. One is sustainability. I know it's a big keyword that people talk sustainability, but you find that a lot of companies don't necessarily practice that. But we've realized that with consumers, they very much. Yeah, we had to be intentional, because consumers are very much educated, and they want to know, one, people are aware of what they put into their bodies. They're keenly aware of what they're watching, they're listening to,
Very much so.
in terms of just the overall health of a human being. But moreover, when it comes to clothes, is it something that will last? And another big thing with sustainability, because it comes across as the O2 emissions are not necessarily harming the environment, but for us, it's also sustainability in the price sense. Whereas you find that what people will term a garment expensive is that if it's then meant to last you over the 5 years, you have that one.
It has to be sustainable.
So if you have that one garment over 5 years, it saves you from buying 10 garments to replace that one. So that's where we pivot to in terms of zero waste and understanding, and that and technology. What technology is done for fashion, I'm interested is to the AI, the AR, and how designers are now showcasing their work through technology. We know by virtue of putting up our phones what's the latest trend globally, what is fast in terms of like the now fashion. So now people are looking into us, and what we've seen as a brand, the globe is looking onto us. So the big thing, I actually want to pivot to what she spoke of, is that she was trying to break into luxury, but now because of one, Gugulam, Saint Vuyo, even the juxtaposition of that, Saint and Vuyo, it's African, So even with us as Makosa, so you find that now we've got culture, we've got multiple languages. If we're able to tap into that, culture is the future.
100%. Yes.
Can I just tell you as you said that, we've just done an exciting project with, remember I told you we work with Cross Trainer. So Mogalide is two artists that are at Victoria Yard. So we've done this collaboration, just created a collection for Cross Trainer and Mogalide.
Wow.
And they have done, the prints are all their own prints, but they have done the AI. So when you put the app onto the print, it comes alive, and it's very basketball inspired.
Wow.
Makes it,
That's so
we just did that
futuristic.
right now. In fact, that's where I've come from. So yeah, so they've got that whole story, and we just created that in our space and created this amazing
That's
thing
where
with
we're going with the
Magalede.
future, yeah.
Yeah, they're lovely
Well,
stories.
personally, I feel like, we're living in a time where there really is no excuse for people not to know how to dress.
Yes.
The options are endless. And I feel like the space is so receptive to everyone who wants to express themselves, from someone who's truly conservative to a person who's totally out there. The scape that we live in is really amazing. I love how what's also coming back is just that artistic look that was once that had suddenly gone. Everything was just so homogenous in the whole world. But people, I feel like as Africa and South Africa, we have such a great story to tell, and I think it's just wonderful for us to be given that platform to tell the world that we are trendsetters and not trend followers. So I'm really excited about that.
I love that. I love that.
What is also really exciting about fashion is the jobs that are being created now. I think the clothing industry is on the upturn, especially with manufacturing coming back here. Retailers are wanting to bring more manufacture locally. It's quicker for them. It's actually proving to be more advantageous. So I think there's a lot more. And I started my career when there was a lot of manufacturing in South Africa, and then everything changed. So back in the day, there was a lot of jobs created. So this is a great way of creating jobs which will grow the industry. Fashion is a huge opportunity in this country.
And I think when jobs are created and factory manufacturing is back, is the more we actually support local. So I like that.
More of a circular
It becomes a ripple effect. I like that. And with the Fashion Industry Awards, we celebrate the past, the present, and the future. And I really, because we spoke about the digital world and how you guys have built successful brands in the digital space, I really want to go back to Gugu before we wrap up and talk about how your brand was so successful, and it was a successful luxury brand before the digital world. So please tell us more about that.
It was really interesting because when I was coming up, a lot of the designers that had come before me had done the African. So the black people were known for sort of an ethnic look. And here I was saying, I'm going to tell my story the way I know it for sure. And I come from a background of people that wore luxury, that lived the luxury, the fab life. That's how they So it was a great influence on my life. And so when I came out, I know some of the people in the industry were saying, we're looking for another grand African brand. And I was like, that's not my story. So then I came out with the line. And I think the challenges were really just, people also thought that fashion was, if you weren't doing African, you were doing all the gowns. That's what I was coming across, where if you're not wearing the bells and whistles, then what are you designing? I mean, I remember when I first came up, people would be like, no, but your stuff looks like it's made in a store. They'd be like, it looks like store. And I'd be like, that is the point. That is
myself.
Yes, that is the point. It doesn't have to look homemade or
breaking away from that stereotypical vision or viewpoint of what
I think so.
is.
So it was quite interesting, but South Africans, particularly black people, I don't know if people know about this, but black people love clothes. And black people wear luxury.
And they look amazing.
And again, when you talk to a white person and you say, oh, this line is very expensive, and you tell that story to a black person, they're like, really?
Yeah, we value.
And I don't know if it's because in the past, black people didn't have a lot of money to spend on other things like houses and property and that sort of thing. So clothing was always something they could spend on. So it was wonderful. And getting people to support the line, that was quite a miracle in itself, because not many people understood luxury. But I'm
Amazing.
excited to actually turn it around now and try to play catch up against you guys. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. You guys are amazing. You've done so well, and I can't wait to see what else is in store for you. I also can't wait to grab some of your designs. But this is the end of the raw and real conversations. Thank you so much for tuning in.